Welcome to the world according to Mo. I heard a story today that was very interesting to me. This is the spring of 2017, and it's been a strange year, or so far this year, I suppose. There's been a lot of people pass away. There's been a lot of people, friends of mine, about my age or so, that have started having health problems. And it just kind of seems like the world is heading in a strange direction, I guess is the best way to put it. I was over at a neighbor's house this morning looking at some cows, and we were standing in the edge of the barn talking just about nothing. And he said that they had groundhogs underneath the floor of his barn. Which, you know, that's a normal thing around here anyway. We've had similar problems in the hay barn. Anyway, he asked me if I'd ever eat a groundhog. And I told him I had, and we talked about it a little bit. And he said, well, I grew up eating groundhogs and stuff like that. Boy, I love them. And I said, well, that's cool, you know, that's kind of neat. And he said, he started into a story about whenever he was a child that, you think you know people. I guess just being around him, I've known this guy probably just about my whole life. I've never been around him a whole lot, but he's been around, I've been around. He's a nice guy, he's an old guy, probably about 80 years old. So he started telling me this story. And he said when he was 7 years old, his mother left him. And he had an older brother that was 9, and a younger sister. He didn't tell me her age, but I'm assuming probably 5 or 6. She was younger than him. And then whenever their mother took off, they were basically left on their own. Their father worked for the military, and he was gone through the week and would come home on the weekend. And through the week, they had to fend for themselves, go to school, cook, hunt, do everything themselves. Wasn't anybody else around. Now this was during World War II, so things at that time were vastly different than what we would assume a normal world looks like today, of course. And most of the industrial progress that was made after World War II has made the world that we live in today. But anyway, he said that all they had to eat was whatever that they could catch or kill or shoot. Now bear in mind, his brother was 9 years old. He was the oldest one in the house. But he used the .22 to kill stuff for him to eat. Now just think about that. A 9-year-old is responsible for getting the food for his brother and sister so that they could live. He said their clothing was made, he said they made them out of regular gunny sacks. And for their sister, they had flour sacks that they would wash. And his brother made their clothes for him to wear. Now, if you can imagine this, a 9-year-old boy that's hunting, fishing, cooking, cleaning, making the clothes for his brother and sister, his younger brother and sister. And they made it just fine. Now today, of course, that would be unimaginable. But to look at where we've come from, those kind of people built the country that we live in today. That to us, to me even, just seems impossible, but I guess it's not impossible because that's what they had to do to get by. He's about the same age as my father was, and from the stories my father had told me about the good old days, I guess you would say, whenever he was a kid, he always said, I don't understand these people that say the good old days. I don't remember anything good about them. All it was a bunch of work. But I know from his childhood that, yeah, there was a lot of work just because of the times and the things that they had to do. But I don't think they ever suffered very much as far as they eat. They had stuff to eat. They lived on a farm, of course, so they raised everything that they ate. But I thought about that story about all day long. And just thinking about the people around you that you think you know, I guess, that you assume that they grew up kind of the same way that you did, or had the same things that you did, or those kind of things. I guess that's a human thing. You just think that way. But it was interesting to me. He didn't seem, it was no big deal to him. I mean, of course, that's all they knew. But he said, well, you learn to survive and learn to be independent and take care of yourself. And this is a guy, he's probably 80 years old, that's thinking back whenever he was 7 years old. If you can think about a 7-year-old kid today, or a 9-year-old kid, and just imagine if they were left in a house alone to fend for themselves 5 days a week. It seems like it would be impossible. But to me, it said, we so vastly underestimate the capability of ourselves and people around us every day. And that over time, over the last 60 years, I guess you would say, how much the society that we live in has digressed into, instead of making children independent, self-sufficient, it's went the other way. So that you can't let a 10-year-old kid learn how to do stuff because they're too young. They can't do it. Or you're afraid they'll get hurt, or you're afraid of this and that. So by the time they're 20 years old, they still can't do anything. And we're supposed to be relying on that generation, to make the great inventions and take care of society in the future. And that seems like a problem to me. I don't know. I don't know the answer, but it's troubling. Whenever you see what's going on all around us, instead of going forward, we seem to be slipping backwards. And that what we've got to look forward to is not that great. Whenever people go from being independent to dependent on somebody else to take care of them or tell them what to do or how to survive, well, the people that can do that are dying off. I mean, they're dying off rapidly. So I hope the future is bright. I think if everyone wasn't so busy being busy, they might realize some of this, and there might be some things done about it, but I don't foresee that happening. Until there's a big catastrophe or chaos breaks out in the streets. The old saying, whenever good men stand by, bad things happen. I think that's the times that we live in now. So anyway, that's the world according to Mo. It's It's hope for the future from looking to the past, I guess. So, have a good day, and we'll talk to you later.